Hello. We're back. Right. We're on the fourth case? Fourth, yeah. And we've done the investigation and we're heading into the court case now. We still don't know who the victim of the attempted murder is, which is really weird to me. Like, if you're trying to solve a crime, like finding out who the victim is and finding out who would possibly have a grudge against them seems like a pretty sensible thing to do, and we still have no fucking clue who the lady is. We know literally nothing about her. It's weird. So yeah, let's get into the court case. Maybe we can actually find out. th of February, 9:23 a.m. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Defendant dude? I'm gonna go with defendant dude. Oh god, what fucking voice did I give him? This is the problem with streaming like a week apart. I'm trying to remember any of the voices I give. He was very quick, wasn't he? Good morning. Miss Natsume, good morning. Yes, he was very jittery, wasn't he? Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. Early word catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. I tried so desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people talk so literally? Thank you for putting so much faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble. Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of an opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a nefarious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Miss Sasato? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zeeks? Is that right, Mrs. Sato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeeks' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Magnus MacGilded. What a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realised, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in why is the Reaper back in Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they're also speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I mean no offence, Mr. Natsume, but that's how the papers are describing it. Well, lest we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught everyone's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, it's you. Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times, it is you who stands against the legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, it's just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive. Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight in your corner until the bitter end, and I believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Wow, this dude flips so easily. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Miss Mikotapa Esquires. I'm in your debt, forever. I shall never forget this great kindness. Oh, and that got cut off automatically. Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defence. Court is in session. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way to the courtroom at once. Right then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yes. This is it. My second appearance in the British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client till the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. "10 a.m. That conversation took 37 minutes. Oh, it's different jurors. Of course it would be, wouldn't it? Old man voice. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defence to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. And the defence is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are truly a fascinating breed. I've been waiting for that line to show up. I've heard that line. I've seen it in, like, posts about this game. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago, a mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate. I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Starting early with the wine. Very true, and a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted and his unfortunate, violent end.
Excuse me, can we get started? Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public?
He was in the first case. He was the number one juror in the first trial, I think. So I don't think it's like a complete... I'll have to see the rest of the people.
You never know when you might be down on your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. Oh. Excuse me? That's, what's her face? The wife from yesterday. Oh god, what fucking voice did I give her? I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that the mustachioed foreigner did the deed.
Come on, what are we here for? No doubt he did it anyway. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Is the final juror always going to be like an older person with bad hearing? Because it was the same in the first case as well, or the previous case.
Very well, let us proceed.
I'm going to forget the jurors' voices constantly. There's so many people to keep track of.
Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks.
Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Saseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, their kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act.
Sir, please stop throwing your alcohol around the courtroom.
Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street.
And that woman's name is... We still don't have it. Yeah, it is. Joan Garrideb. That was her name, Garrideb. So she's one of the jurors. Weird.
A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are.
Was he the juror in the first case, or was he one of the guys on the stagecoach? That was on stand. I'd have to go back and take a look. Oh, look at that fellow! Look at that sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of the dreadful Japanese.
Wow. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber.
I'm sure you'll do it a couple more times by the end of the case.
Allow me to call the first witness to the stand.
Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please.
Okay, Gregson.
Your name and occupation, please.
Oh god, what fucking voice did I give Gregson?
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector?
The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green.
I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be?
Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since.
What? So they don't even know who she is for sure?
Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger?
Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector.
I think this is the first, it's probably not the first in the series, but it's the first I've seen in the series of a case not being a murder. Like it being attempted murder instead.
So, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not been long. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far.
Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please.
Case file's been added. We'll take a look at that in a second.
What of the weapon that was used?
Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back.
Ouch, that's a big thing that big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose.
A common or garden jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence.
Jackknife added.
Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume.
From what we were told by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have anything much worth pinching, my lord.
I see. In that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment towards the victim?
I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this very moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes! If the theft and grievance have been ruled out as a motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested a man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
What? Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here.
What?
Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constable came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir.
Witness testimony.
As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he'd just bought. He was on his way home from the bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke and arrested him.
Old books, you say?
Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime taken immediately after the incident. Why is there no blood?
Ah, yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector.
Added. Why is there no blood? That's weird. You'd expect a pool of it.
You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Well, Forgive me, Lord Von Zieks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it.
What are you doing, Mrs. Sato?
Do go on.
Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had happened. I was walking along that accursed pavement. I could make out the sole solitude of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs could carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
Huh. A green overcoat?
That's exactly what the woman in print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full colour. What will the world what will the world come up with next?
The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of the terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. In fact, a fact that the accused concedes.
It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, Counsel. Proceed, please.
Yes, my lord.
Nothing for it.
Oh, pardon me. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Cross-examination. Okay, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I think that was alright. Visibility was reasonably good. Okay, I wanted to press this about the... Oh, actually, before we get into this, let's take a look at the evidence we've got. Incident report. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Victim olive green, female, stout build, early 20s. On the pavement of Briar Road, east side. Potting officer, Royal Beat. Victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from a single stab wound from a large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. Yeah, looks like a fairly common knife. Oh, why is the tip blunted? Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Mrs. Sato. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes, you don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear, I do hope not. It sounds terribly painful. Ugh, that sucks if it's true. What about the other side? No other distinguishing marks. Yeah, it seems fairly straightforward. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust the mic. It's a bit... There we go. It's a bit better. I don't think there's anything there worth examining for the moment. So let's press. Mr. Natsume's belongings.
I think you find that it's all right there in the photographic print on the... yeah. I think you'll find it's all right there in the photographic print of the crime scene.
Yes, the 3 books on the floor.
That's right, my lord.
Oh, sorry.
Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course.
Really? Books were that badly damaged?
The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example.
He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He managed to close one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back?
That would be what happened. That would be what happened, my lord. Yes.
Those being a number of books he had just bought, he was on his way back from the bookshop, it seems. The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis.
Yes, so I understand. A shop full of Old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with these musty old books.
Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector?
Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid.
Right on the corner.
The closest second-hand bookshop up to the accused lodgings is this place here, Bobbin Books. The little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in the lodgings on the other side of Briar Road, at the opposite end. Which means it didn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this.
Oh, map has been updated. Okay, that's going to be relevant then.
Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance.
Yes, I agree.
The most important point that the inspector just made being location, I guess? Stock doesn't really matter. The name doesn't matter at all, really, does it? Crucial detail in what you've just told the court, Inspector, is the location of the bookshop.
I couldn't agree more.
So, where is it exactly?
Eh? Are you winding me up, Sunshine? I just explained that. I got the map out and everything. Used red blooming ink and drew the bloke's route home on for you.
I distinctly remember you seeing you nod along, Counsel.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. There's been so nervous I didn't take it in.
The blunder of the day goes to you, my learned friend.
No, not yet. The trial's only just begun after all. Mr. Naruhodo, I would strongly advise you look carefully through the court records at this stage. Yes, miss. At once, miss. Sorry I made a mistake, miss.
Inspector, continue with your testimony, please.
What are they trying to hint with that? Is there some other piece of evidence that I'm not? Your books, it's the wrong. Okay. If we press that again, the right choice I was supposed to make was the name of the bookstore. Bookshop's name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favour? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes. It could very well be an important clue.
Very well. Not that I can see anything of great significance, but please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector.
Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say.
Could the man be any more sardonic? He's on his way home from the Bob and bookshops. Excuse me. Get fucked.
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know.
This is a receipt we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books.
You found that in the accused's room, did you?
Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it.
Go on.
This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books.
Your Books. Y-O-R-E, I presume.
Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bob and Books.
What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop?
Yes, sir.
Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from the Bob and Books.
It's just that... Well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
But in fact, it is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference to the final analysis.
I disagree. I mean, after all, I have a street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bob and Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we were to take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may well very turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all.
Could that be true?
My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it to be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? Is that what you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Turns out it's like next door to Bob and Books. It makes no difference whatsoever.
Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment?
Well, obviously we looked into that. It turns out that Your Books...
Yeah. It turns it into a 50-50 coin flip on which direction he went. He could have gone Calabash Road, or he could have gone Meersham Road. Meersham Street.
It's just here on the corner of Meersham Street, going east.
And there you have it, as you can clearly see now. Oh.
my learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus.
You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you.
I, didn't think I need to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused is coming home from your books instead of Bobbin books, there's no doubt you would have had to pass the place where the victim was stabbed.
Yes, thank you, Inspector.
Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend.
Okay, he's just shouting glasses in his hand. How much, like, glassware does this man have, and how many bottles of wine does he have?
Just under his desk, it's just all bottles and glasses. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, makes no difference to the final analysis.
As suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try.
What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now.
I beg your pardon. I'm terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. She's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. They claim Sasaki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but...
Raise an objection.
Because there's two possible routes he could have gone. The assertion... I keep saying assertion. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Okay. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed.
Explain yourself, counsel.
Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take the longer route home?
Well,
The answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and is the obvious perpetrator for this crime.
But, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home.
I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection.
Huh?
That's right. As I recall, the bloke seemed to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home.
I don't believe this.
I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors?
But But even if that's the case, the defense still... Oh. They've all made their fucking minds up, haven't they?
I agree with Lord Van Zieks, wholeheartedly, and in every way.
What? I don't believe it. Does this mean...
We members of the jury are completely convinced now.
Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon the members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
Well, shit. Well, that was a quick chapter. Hopefully you won't hang for the murder.
It would appear that the jury's leaning is unanimous.
To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably.
Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow.
Those are the eyes of quarry not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again this trial. The rights of the defense written into the antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago.
I do. Call it antiquated if you will. But it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses.
Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncouth refusal to throw in his alley.
Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty.
So is he the juror from the first case, or is he the guy from the... I don't remember. Jurors...
Stuff. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he?
If he said the woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why it could only have been the victim? The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing.
Your books, yes. Nice shop that. But Bob and books? No, not worth a visit.
Unusual response?
With only minor exceptions, the reasoning for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear.
When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes.
Furthermore, we have heard that from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already.
Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced by Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that no one could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Naruhodo, it's no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue, yes, I know, I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least.
Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward.
You have the floor,
You have the floor, counsel. to begin summonation examination.
Yes, my lord.
Slap!
You need to keep this trial going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Rhinosuke, you can do this.
Jury examination.
The defense's rebuttal.
I think you're pretty locked in. He says that, yeah.
Okay, I want to ask about... Okay, your reasoning is weird. I want to ask you... Yes, I remember how this works now. You have to pit two pairs against each other. Let's see. Press.
Oh, sorry. Fold it, you say? Fold what?
No. What I said was hold it.
What I wanted to ask you was,
Do you visit your books often?
I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're talking about.
And what time did you visit your books on the day in question?
Well, I was picking up books in there all afternoon, and I would have...
Oh my god, is it going to be him? Is the person he saw fall down going to be this dude? In his green overcoat? Jesus. Okay.
I was picking up, would have been just before 5 that I left.
Which was just before... Oh my god, it is.
That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're talking about.
Just before 5, you say? Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time?
Oh yes, no mistaking there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget the day in a hurry. Not after that dreadful time I had.
What do you mean?
Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donked my head. It was always worse for the snow. It was always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up.
Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road?
That's right. I live on Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books.
Jury number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant.
Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite right. All right now.
it says shivers down my spine to hear members of the jury so convinced of Miss Natsume's guilt.
But I can't help feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. I agree. It's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something.
We must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunningly.
Yes, you're right. Let's listen to the jurors again, carefully. And if any of their assertions are... I keep saying assertions, I don't know why. And if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll pit them mercilessly against each other.
Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other.
Alright, you... Why, it could only have been the victim. Let's press you first before we pit you against the old man. You were right at the time of the incident. The defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him.
Quite right. That's precisely my point.
I don't know why I've made her like Texan, but whatever.
Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing moustache is the culprit.
Well, let's not forget, madam, that the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that lies... Well, I'm making him fucking Texan now. But if that's a lie you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, and you wouldn't like it. I do declare the man has already made his admission. He himself stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could possibly have committed this awful crime. But no one else could have done it. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my, you're all too kind, my lord. That went well for her. Right, let's pit her against...
Objection!
Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning.
A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel?
Well, juror number 2, juror number 6. Matt, whatever could you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud. It's not like I was loud or anything. There are at least one fact of which the case we can be sure. The bookstore receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates on the day of the attack he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. Then he returned home on foot. But the man says that he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing somebody appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are all aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously. Can we really be sure of that, madam? Matt, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6. Juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim, who was wearing a green overcoat who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my. My goodness, you mean to say... That's right. I'm referring, of course, to the hard of hearing juror number 6. Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman at the end of the bench here with me today? That's entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man is a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that. My goodness me.
Sorry, you need to pee?
And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, that means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh my! You idiot, old man. If you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming around there, we'd have boxed this off hours ago. Oh really? What are you thinking, wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me? Is it a crime for an elderly to walk the street these days, Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it?
I have to do my powder. My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but...
You'd like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare I would. I should like to call for the verdict of not guilty.
Thank you. And I would too.
What?
Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well...
Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It's strengthened our position somewhat. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume. We might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal.
I finished my bottle.
Thank you, Counsel. On the summation examination... on with the summation examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Okay, let's... number 5. Let's press you, because you're not actually saying anything about the case. You just want to leave. You're that dude in 12 Angry Men who's just like, yeah, let's wrap up, please.
A man's life is on the line here, sir, and this will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a labourer like me can't afford to take time off. And if I don't work, I don't eat, and neither did me with the wife and kids.
Oh, I see. That must be very hard.
I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right and centre. They're after cheap labour to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is.
So, you were out digging the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you?
That's right. In fact, I remember rightly. It was just round the corner from where all this happened. By the old bookshop it was.
What? Another coincidence.
That's right. Measham Street it was.
Measham Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there were only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please.
What's the point of that? Can't we just get this business over with now?
Please, sir, it's important.
Fine, I'll do it then.
Okay. Press you for more info. But you can't deny that there were other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back to your books. Oh, yes. Like you joined the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or whatever? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. At the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. But we can use juror number 5 to prove that he didn't go down Measham Street. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are cold, dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I'd have given it a lot of thought, you see. It didn't jump to my mind on a whim like... I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone to Calabash Roadway, that'd be different. Oh, like the road being closed for roadworks. Yeah. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. A reason why Saseki-san might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway the young man's opinion without one. It's a good job I've got one, then.
Objection!
Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another.
At odds, counsel. Explain yourself.
Please, don't point. It wasn't me, I swear.
What? I just want to get this done and dusted.
Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implication of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Measham Street, making it impassable. Which means the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Measham Street and down Briar Road. Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir?
Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards more of the... we must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings.
Yes, I suppose that he must have.
I suppose that must be right, eh?
Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop.
But we see now that he had no choice.
Yes. My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may.
Yes?
I don't think in all good conscience that I could say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so that we may get to the bottom of what's really happening. What about you, sir?
What? Who? Me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say.
Like a proper workman. Gotta fill in any holes.
Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The A's 2, the no's 4. And so the no's have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have the consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from the hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush it in disgust. Pray forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zeeks?
It seems I must retract my earlier remark.
What do you mean?
I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Eh? Whatever do you mean?
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir. That's right. Took me a whole day and they paid me measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friends, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance of 2 yards represents?
To be honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters.
Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your work? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had hope of passing anyway. And we just turned any gentlefolk back when they come. Kids just jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Ah. Is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased from the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road.
Yeah, that is kind of a problem. How did his books get to the other street? Crushed in a single sentence.
And old man.
Cold man? You can talk? You can talk?
You say that around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese man behind you at the time?
Oh, I can't say as I remember.
You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw. But I would say 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it.
Order, order. Lord Van Zieks, explain yourself.
My lord?
If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination?
I wanted to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel.
Oh, the capes go off.
So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over.
What? What are you talking about?
My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witness to the stand.
Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses.
Its next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright, no matter who Van Zieks brings to the stand as his witness, and no matter what they say, I believe in Saseki-san. I know he's innocent. I keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. Okay, not what I was expecting. Alright, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. Get a quick snack to eat because I'm starving. Be back in a couple of minutes, won't be too long. Alright, I'm back. Okay, let's continue on. Got our first witnesses. Let's get back into this. Clear my throat.
Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court.
Constable Rowley beats Nothing to report on the streets, sir.
She's come back to sleep.
And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say I'm this young town hero's wife. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honourable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world.
Oh, really? I'm sure I've heard that before, actually.
Indeed, apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collecting taxes, surveying the streets, check that the meters are reading true. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our street lamps.
There are a number of items on the list that don't sound very much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago.
It goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. But the London Bobby is a man of honour.
A man of slumber.
On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction, and they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat?
That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rolly? Rolly Beat and Patricia Beat? I'm trying to think if there's a pun there. It's not jumping out at me. Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the streets, sir.
What a great witness he's going to be.
Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident.
Yes, sir.
Witness testimony. What the witnesses saw. It was our wedding anniversary and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them was collapsed on the floor and the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at the nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dark. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day.
But it wasn't as clear as day. It was fucking foggy as all shit.
Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say.
Oh dear. This policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in your summation examination will be squashed.
It's death knell, in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place.
What an unfortunate, what an unfortunate bechancing. And on your wedding anniversary too.
Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed, however. This cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon.
What do you mean by that?
My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without a doubt the accused Mrs. Soseki Natsumi.
God, my fucking mouth is falling to pieces.
And one of the witnesses is a policeman, no less. So you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure.
Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking.
Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence your cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Okay, it was our wedding anniversary and Wooly was taking me out to a meal.
Hold it!
No time to change after work, you say? Are you also a member of the police, Miss Beat? No, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Rowley looks even more handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? Huh? What? Oh, I thought I'd finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't even recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy.
Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you finished your beat for the day, correct?
That's right, sir, yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm a proud owner of this, I'll serve the city and Queen to the end. What's that now? My warrant card, sir. Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. But sir, just on that one particular day I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Miss Beat put up with a lot being married to a bobby like me, and I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Aww. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps.
And then, kindly describe what happened next.
I need to double check something. Okay, I was just double checking to see if there was any more like trophy stuff in this case, but I don't think there is. So there's no like particular special like talking to the other person thing that I need to do for a trophy during this court case. I know what I mean. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog and the pavement ahead of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed to the floor. The other scattered something before running off. So that sounds intentional rather than just dropping the books. So I think somebody's picked up his books from the other street and then gone, did the stabbing and planted the books as like a red herring for the police. Scattered something. What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't make out what it was at the time. But when we got closer, I realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? What? Oh, yes. That's right. It was some old books.
I see. Old books. Yes, sir. The culprit had dropped a number of them, all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in the photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed.
Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker.
But we saw him. It was the man in the dock without question, sir. That mustache, that hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose, everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in?
All right. He looked down at the poor defenseless woman with those terrifying intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away.
I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that the unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue.
Yes, sir. Let's press this.
Was it your husband that went to fetch help?
No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? Huh? What? Oh, yes, that's right. I asked Miss B to go. I was off duty at that point. But a Bobby's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obligated to stay and guard the scene.
Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance.
That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box.
Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box?
Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat, so I told Patricia the way to the police box for the beat the incident fell under so she could go and report it.
I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There is nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know.
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens.
Oh, please, you're making me blush. You're making us blush, isn't he, darling? Yes, sir. What Patricia said, sir.
Let's move on, shall we? Okay, let's press this. You saw him clear as day, but it was a foggy day, so... But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? Whoa, jeez. Give your husband a break.
We absolutely could. Those Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know.
Right.
The light from the street lamps was more than enough. My husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he?
Yes. And what of the fog?
We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. When it's thick, you can't see the hand in front of your own arm.
Yes, alright, I take your point.
Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why I can tell you for sure and certain that it was the little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
Huh? What? Yes. It was the accused and no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, the snub nose.
Pardon me.
Pardon me.
Unmistakable, sir.
As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question.
It was Seki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beats saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury issued a call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no, then what do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here. What are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else and tell within their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, we must focus on finding discrepancy in the statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavourable conclusion. Why do I always seem to be up against it? Sorry, my nose has suddenly started being super runny. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about us and everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. What? No, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything, like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one I could. Every single one. You dare to question how reliable my testimony is?
That will do, Miss Beat.
No, it won't do at all. Ha 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 ha. Okay, yeah. Let's get Ed to tell us the name of the books. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, I don't think for a minute that Rolly will. I really don't mean to cause offense. Please put your husband's fists down.
But perhaps you'd like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Miss Beat. Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? Go on, tell us. Yes, we know that the books... we know there were three... Yes, we know there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say.
Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question.
After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I'm a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rolly.
And what was your husband doing at the time?
Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard, don't you, my darling?
Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime.
Well, Miss Beat, seeing as you regaled the court with the tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene?
I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was a picture of Monsieur somebody or other, and What's It Yearnings, and there was a meal for someone. The last one was definitely Thingamy's something. You see?
Yes, I see there are one or two holes in your memory.
Oh well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure.
There were indeed books found at the scene with the titles along those lines, as you put it.
Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling? Put the gun away. Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have to answer. Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have me to answer to.
Terrifying.
Yes, she really is.
So that's it, is it?
That's their entire testimony?
This is a repeat of,
Okay, I just want to see. Four books, but there's only 3. Okay.
Objection!
So, you're saying that there were 4 books? That's right. I remember all of them. Does the picture also show? No, that only shows 3 as well. Mysterious 4th book. The picture of Monsieur somebody, what's it yearnings, a meal for someone, and thing me something. I'm sorry, Miss Beat. But there's a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no, what? What flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime,
there were only 3 books, not 4.
what?
This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books.
Your books?
Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books were listed.
Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books.
Oh really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see from the evidence as well, there are only 3 books.
But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it. I saw them.
No, madam, I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken.
Oh no, oh no, no. They are wearing the same scarf. I did wonder whether they were wearing matching scarves or the same one.
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend.
What?
What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair?
He sees right through me.
But your plan was somewhat recoiled against. Your plan has somewhat recoiled against you.
What are you talking about?
It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect.
Oh.
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene of Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books.
Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print.
That print? You mean to say? Dude, stop throwing your booze about.
Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand.
The Lion's Pride, that's Thingy's book, Gildeb's, which has been burnt. Interesting. Oh, Garrideb. Garrideb. I don't believe it. It's the fourth book.
As you will observe, the fourth book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso.
No. No.
Order, order.
There, you see? You see? Look at that. Look, look, look.
Yes.
It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling? Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir.
Let us study the receipt of the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Miss Beat, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lacroix.
What's it, yearnings?
Canterbury Yearnings.
A meal for someone?
A meal for... I don't even know how you'd pronounce that. Gabaroy. In fact. And the court has just heard that the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Miss Beat's power of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment. Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Miss Beat mentioned 4.
There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the fourth book is that which is shown in the photographic print.
I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the fourth book be omitted from the receipt?
It's not odd at all, my lord.
Because it belongs... Well, I was going to say it belongs to the victim, but it doesn't belong to her. We know it doesn't.
As the victim clearly... as the photograph clearly shows, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim.
The victim was holding her own book? I wonder, what became of that fourth book?
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence.
You will submit that in the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel.
My pleasure, my lord.
Second crime scene photo. Fourth book has been entered. I want to take a look at that book.
Prosecution rests.
But the defense doesn't. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scotched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. Book recently damaged by fire. Why does it seem to raise a red flag with me? You got a comment on the name of the book itself? Let me see. It's a book called The Lion's Pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard of a book by that name before. Very recently, too. It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay.
I have nothing further to add.
What?
You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious route to the accused lodgings that you have tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination.
Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat.
So, perhaps the lady and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions, should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty. Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all of these witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we're in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse.
Think, Reinosuke, think. What do you do now?
I don't think there's anything we can object to.
So we'll have to wait and see. Should I just keep quiet and see what happens?
Very well. It appears the defense has no objection to this juncture. At this juncture, in which case...
Mr. Naruhodo, was I not clear? The case for the defense is in great danger.
Yes, I realize that, which is why I decided to let the sweat drip from my trembling brow in silence.
You're so right, sorry.
You're so right, sorry. If I don't say anything now, it'll all be over. And it won't end well for us. I can't let that happen. No, wait. The defense...
The defense will have to wait. Because that sapless hesitation cannot go unpunished.
Fuck. Isn't your derisive finger-pointing punishment enough?
No, my learned friend. It's over. This last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast, and there is no more room for debate.
Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zieks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this.
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential, and her opinions invaluable.
Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance.
Since when? Excuse me?
So, the court will hear you out, madam.
Go ahead, Mr. Sato, please.
Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the cross-examination finished.
I see. Do you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain the crucial piece of evidence is. He's sure to ask you what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible.
Yes, I understand, and thank you, Mr. Sato. This is it.
Sasato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste.
The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Before we do, let's take a look at the photo just to see. Right, I can't actually examine anything on the photo. Okay, so it's just the book I needed to.
Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case, and has hitherto been overlooked.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book, found in the victim's hand.
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know.
Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear?
Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence. Which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue in this case, which is the fourth book conceals?
Oh, wait, that's just going to repeat the... I had to press triangle. I keep messing that up. Got it! I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp.
So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend?
Oh,
Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, then there is nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert that the fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day? Pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide?
charred book. There's just one possibility here which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. There's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory.
And don't keep us waiting any longer, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting you can ascertain from the fire damage from this sorry tome has suffered?
My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth. About the book's owner.
I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hands as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hands has yet to be answered. However, as to the question of who the book really belongs to, and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious, how could you possibly?
Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry.
Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. Tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb.
The landlords.
And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but Of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for the jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs Garrideb herself. Oh my goodness, me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garrideb's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garrideb's house? I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused's landlady, you say. You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time the victim was stabbed in the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house.
Good lord, what sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord. Oh god, what fucking voice did I give Garrideb?
I'm afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favourite book called The Lion's Pride.
The Lion's Pride.
By Jove, it's the very same title as the subject of this debate.
Oh dear me.
This is risible.
What the fuck? I do not know that word.
All you've told the court is that the book by the same name was involved in a fire, in which case it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself from the scene of the crime.
Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rowley? Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir. No, she'll just choke you with a scarf instead.
Had all my favourite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got a hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurling things at me. There I was, back up against the window, under heavy fire, incendiary books coming at me 10 to the dozen.
A man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious. Are you suggesting that the book was thrown through the window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
No, a thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident, and there was no report of the Garrideb's window pane being broken.
That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrideb household. But it is not conceivable that the window was open at the time, and
not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter.
Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene of the crime was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garrideb's wife?
I believe it's a possibility, my lord. That's quite enough. Whoever said that?
Oh, it's her.
Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are. You little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward, a mean coward. Really? Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight, honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this, beastly case. It's nothing to do with this beastly case. Not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. No, I assure you, that was never my intention. Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention away from your failing defense. What did the dude next to you do? Don't slap him. I should box your ears. That's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Too right.
Here we go.
How long have we sat here listening to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could have possibly stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache. And he ran away from the scene. Too.
I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes, what did I tell you?
Makes sense to me.
Sorry? What's that? Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Von Seeks?
In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savour the best vintage.
No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... What?
If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. I'm very nimble, you see. That's why I did this.
What? No forgive the discourtesy this time?
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! 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 Guilty!
Aye. Second time.
Thank you for that unambiguous response.
That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up yet. Mrs. Sato? Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting. Of course, the defense has been right. The defense has a right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense asks to exercise the right to a summation examination.
You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve.
I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. To be continued! Okay, first half of the trial over. My voice is shot for the day, so we will wrap up here. Because goddamn, this is tiring. And yeah, it's going to be it for today, I think. Because it's so intense on my voice. Streaming this 2 days in a row. What I might do is start Elden Ring tomorrow. And then we'll do an alternating until we finish this case. Because there's going to be the second half of this case, and then there's going to be I think there's like 4 escapades to do. Following on from this one, there's a few. There's like 4 or 5. So that's going to be probably its own stream in and of itself. So I think we'll kind of alternate. I think we'll see. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. But yeah, that is going to be it for today. We'll wrap this case up later. But, yeah, interesting case. We're finally getting some answers. Like, we know who the victim is. We still don't know why anyone would want to hurt her. Maybe she's a thief and she stole the book from Garrideb, but the fire happened at the same time. I don't know, that's weird. Unless somebody planted the book there at the scene of the crime afterwards, whilst Patricia was away getting the other police officer and Rolly was asleep on the floor. Somebody snuck over and like dumped evidence. But why? I don't know. We'll see. I don't really have like an idea of who could have done this. Yeah, it's a weird one. Right, but yeah, that is going to be it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. The start of Elden Ring. But yeah, see you tomorrow.